Good morning, everybody. For those of you that don't know, I'm Johnny Morgan. I was part of the youth group, now I'm part of the young adults. Been going to Surprise for about 3 years now, and I'll be preaching for you today. Today I'll be going over what it means to put your faith in God and what that may look like. So if you'd like to open up your Bibles to Proverbs 3, verses 5 through 10. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth, and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. Now, what does it mean to be faithful to God? So, the textbook definition of faith is an allegiance to a duty or a person. But what does the Bible say faith is? Well, looking back at verse 5, it says here, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. Now, how often do we as humans like to admit that we don't know something? That whether you're in a store looking for something for dinner and you don't know what aisle to go down, maybe you're trying to fix something at home, a table broke, and instead of calling a professional to fix it, you go ahead and try and do it yourself. While all those things may be like small, minor problems, what about when we're going through hardships in our life? Maybe it's with one of your friends, or it's with a significant other, or another member of the church even. How often is the first thing that pops into your mind, what does God say to do about this? What does the Bible say I should do on how to handle this? Instead, a majority of us will try and solve the problem ourselves. We'll think, I can do this. I know how to fix this. I know how to solve this. And we won't look in the Bible. We won't see how we should handle it. But the beautiful thing about God and his word is that it's there for us, and it shows us that we don't have to do things by ourselves. It's that we're never alone. It's only a few pages away. How many Bibles do we have here today? Yeah. And even if we don't have Bibles, I'm sure a majority of us have a phone. There's plenty of Bible apps, and so it's super accessible just to open up a Bible, whether it be on your phone or a physical one, and see what God says to solve something. In verse 6, it says, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. As a kid, I wasn't a huge fan of going to church. You know, I had school Monday through Friday, and then I had Saturday, Sunday off, then back to school. And so Saturday would be filled with usually resting, sometimes homework a lot of the time. But, you know, I wanted to spend both days off relaxing, playing video games, going out with my friends, kid stuff. And so it would make me reluctant to go. I would yearn for the service to end, and for my church did a potluck every Sunday. I would be like in my seat wiggling. The moment they're like, you're dismissed, I'd run over to the annex. I'd sit down in the corner, and it wouldn't even start for the next 15 minutes. But, that's what I was looking forward to. I wasn't putting my full attention into God like I should have been. But as I got older, I became more aware of God and his word and just how great he is, and I started to put my faith in him more. In 2018, the summer of 2018, my Aunt Linda had signed me up for a church camp, Copper Basin Bible Camp. And at first I didn't want to go because I heard they're going to take your phone away the whole week. You're not going to have your phone. Teenage me, I'm like, oh no, I need it, I can't live without it. And so I didn't want to go at first, but I had put a bit of faith that it would turn out good and it would be beneficial for me to go up there for this week and just indulge in God and not have any other distractions. And so I went up, and it's probably the best decision I ever made. It was definitely a great stepping stone in where I am today. And at the end of the week, I was crying. I didn't want to leave. I didn't even care about getting my phone back. the moment I got it back, I put it in my pocket. I was, saying bye to everyone. It was a great time. And I grew closer to God, and while I may not have seen it at the time, he was setting me on that path that I'm on today. He had a plan for me, and that was to preach his word and go teach others his word that don't have the same opportunities as us. And if I hadn't put my faith in the Lord to get me through that week, I probably wouldn't be up here today. Now, I'm not saying that God is going to lead you all down the same path as me when you put your faith in him, but even outside the church, the Lord never takes a break. He's always with us. Joshua 1:9 says, "Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." God is always with us, and we can always put our trust in him. Whether you're at work having troubles with a coworker, or for the younger people still in school, you're having problems with another student, you've got to trust in the Lord and put your faith in him that everything will be set straight for you, and that no matter how bumpy the path he puts you on may be, the Lord will make sure you get through it and that you can see the end. I also want to make clear that just because God sets straight your path doesn't mean that it'll be an easy path to walk through. Hardships will be thrown your way, whether it be from your own actions and the consequences of those, or the devil tempting you with worldly things. But that's when it's most important to put your faith in the Lord, when you have those troubles, because he will help you through them. I've had many hardships in my life, and I'd had to overcome them to get where I am. And one of them, as most of you may know, I shattered my tibia back in 2019. And I couldn't do the simplest things. I was bedridden for a while. I couldn't walk or do anything by myself. I had to have my stepdad help me up and pick me up just to get up and go somewhere on my crutches. And it tested my faith. I didn't know why this had happened to me, why I was going through this, and why I had to have this trouble. But I had my faith in the Lord, and I knew he was going to heal my leg. My leg was going to be healed, and I was going to be able to learn more from it and take good things away from this bad experience. And it gave me a better chance to further my knowledge of him. And it was a tough and bumpy path, and now that I'm over it, it has paid off tremendously. And I know it was God that blessed me that way. After I was finally able to walk, it was the first couple days after I was able to walk, I text Julia, and I'm like, hey, you wanna go to Dutch Bros, get a coffee? And she brings along Ben Climo, as many of you know. And he ended up bringing me to church after that. We got in touch, we became friends, and he's the one that brought me to Surprise. And so even though I had broken my leg, if I hadn't done that, would I have seen Ben that day? Would I be here? Even looking at Joseph in the Bible, his path wasn't at all what he thought it was going to be, and it definitely was not an easy one. Being the favorite son of his father, it brought hatred from his brothers onto him, so much that they ended up selling him into slavery, which was, in retrospect, a minor thing that they wanted to kill him at first, actually. In Genesis 37, 26 through 28. It says, "Then Judah said to his brothers, 'What profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and not let our hand be upon him. For he is our brother, our own flesh,' and his brothers listened to him. Then Midianite traders passed by, and they drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit. And they sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt." And so after he was sold into slavery, he still kept his faith in God. I have a brother myself. If he had sold me into slavery, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been furious. I would have been asking God, like, hey, why are you letting this happen? But God doesn't throw things our way. God didn't break my leg. God didn't throw Joseph into slavery, but he definitely helped him get through it. After he went to Egypt, he became the overseer of all of Potiphar's belongings, and he became an important man. But then Potiphar's wife framed him and ended up getting him thrown in jail for something he did not do. But even after this, God was still protecting him. He still had his faith in God, even though he was going down this bumpy path. In Genesis 39, verse 21, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. After being sent to the prison, being sent to jail, Joseph was interpreting dreams. He interpreted 2 of the guards' dreams, and word got to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh had a dream that he couldn't make sense of. And so Joseph had interpreted for him. And because of the interpretation of Pharaoh's dream, he rose to power and Pharaoh put him over his house and all of his people. Because of this position and power, he became another important, he was safe. God made sure that he had food and that he was sheltered. Some years later, he met with his brothers once more, and they didn't recognize him, and he didn't reveal himself to them, and he ended up testing them. And after this test, he revealed who he was, and in Genesis 45, verses 4 through 5, says, "So Joseph said to his brothers, 'Come near to me, please.' And they came near. And he said, 'I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life.'" Even after all the troubles that Joseph had gone through, even though his path may have not been paved and it may not have been a smooth one to go down, he still had his faith in God. It says, "And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life." God was working through Joseph to save Egypt in the coming famine. And that it was all part of God's plan, and Joseph had faith in God that he was going to keep him safe. And so this goes to show this is one of the many instances that your path may not look how you thought it might, but it's the path that God is putting you through and that God is sending you down to. And he will keep you safe in it as long as you keep your faith in him. Going back to our verses in Proverbs verses 7 through 10 says, "Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine." Be not wise in your own eyes. There it is again, the Lord telling us that we don't know everything. We don't even know close to it. But that's okay, because we have him and we have his strength and his undying love for us. We know just how powerful God is. The things that he's done has shown us that, keeping Joseph safe after Joseph had put his faith in the Lord. But as it says in the verse, we should also fear God. Now, that doesn't mean we should be afraid of going to church or praying to God or talking to him. One instance of fearing God could be that we fear growing distant with him. That's why it's so important to keep our faith in him and to turn to him so that we don't grow distant. I couldn't imagine the life I would be living right now if I didn't have God in my life. I'd probably be at home just sitting in my chair and not doing anything. It says right here in verse 9, "Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of your produce." Honor the Lord with your wealth. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean to always give your money to God. While that does help keep the church is running and allow us to have great fellowship with our brothers and sisters in Christ, keeping the lights on. But wealth has many different meanings. It's not just financial wealth. There's also a sense of social wealth, mental wealth, and timely wealth. If you're unable to honor God with your financial wealth, then that's okay. Like me, myself, I'm not particularly good with money. I don't keep it very well, and I don't have a lot of it. But for some of the younger people with social wealth, if you're at school, you have that social presence with your friends, or if you're in college, you can invite others to a worship service or maybe a youth activity that's happening. And for others like myself and the other teachers that have that timely wealth and can set aside time to prepare a lesson or to further nurture others in the ways of the Lord and sit down with them, lead a devotional, or all the people that have served today. There's many ways to show your faithfulness to Christ. And as many of you already know, I made the decision to join a program called Adventures in Missions out in Lubbock, Texas. Starting at the end of the month, I'll be leaving and moving over there for a couple of months and then moving on to a field for a couple of years. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared and nervous to do it. But I'm also very excited, and I'm very blessed to have this opportunity to go and spread the Lord's word to others that aren't as fortunate as us, or they may not have the same opportunities. But I know that the only reason I can even do this is because I put my faith in the Lord, that he will guide me through this and set my curved path straight. I'd like to leave you with this last thought. In Matthew 17, verse 20. It says here, he said to them, because of your little faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. For those of you that don't know, a mustard seed is like crazy small. Like it's smaller than a penny, your pinky nail, even most crumbs you'll find on a table. And for it to say that we can do such amazing things with such little faith is so motivating and so amazing. Now, unlike what the passage may say, you're not going to be able to move an actual mountain. You're not going to be able to push it aside. It's just not physically possible. But it means things that may seem like a mountain of hardships, a mountain of problems in your life, they can be taken care of if you put your faith in the Lord. They can be distilled. But I remember even on this past trip, the youth kids went to Searcy, Arkansas for the Uplift program at Harding University. And I was a little hesitant, a little nervous on whether I should go or not. I had aged out of being able to be a camper, so I would have been a chaperone. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to watch over and mentor these kids and be able to give them what they need. And so a few days before, I made my final decision after praying to God and asking him what I should do. And I made the decision to go on this trip and to put faith in him that I will be able to mentor these kids and I will be able to give them what they need on this trip. So with not much faith, because this is my first time doing this, we're going across states. If one of these kids get hurt, it's on me. And so with a little bit of faith in him, I went, and it was amazing. Everyone loved it. It was a great and blessed trip. And I was so blessed to put my faith in him, even though it was not a large amount of faith. I feel like with that little faith to keep me going there, I could help all these kids, and I got to watch them grow. Kendra got baptized. I got to talk to a few other kids and help them through a few through work troubles and a few through family troubles. I'd like to encourage you all this week to put that mustard seed of faith in God, to trust him with something you normally wouldn't, just so you can see how wonderful of a result it may yield for you. If you have wavering faith, remember that even the tiniest bit can help you do what may seem impossible, and that as long as you have that faith in the Lord, that he will set straight your paths. And all of you here today have already put some of your faith in God, just by being here, attending classes, staying for the lesson, fellowshipping with your other brothers and sisters in Christ. But if you'd like to take that first step in forever pursuing him, which is baptism, then I'd like to ask you to come forward today and talk to either me or Daniel or any of the elders, and we can help you take that first step. Now, will you stand with me as we sing?